Oh yes, indeed, no major concerns yet, but we're going to focus on that this morning because we also need to ensure that things go properly. Professor Oyewale Tomori joins us next. He's a virologist. He also served as the regional virologist for the World Health Organization, Africa region between 1994 and 2004. He's former Vice Chancellor of Redeemers University. Thank you for coming on this morning.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Well, the thing about this case is at the time there were many who were concerned, not that they're not anymore, because it did spread faster than when we had the Ebola, and then it's been with us for a while though. And when you hear some experts saying, look, keep your food away from where rats can get to, you ask yourself, where is it that these rats can't get to? Even if you put your food up the fridge, they can get there. From how we've approached this, how would you rate it?
I think, first of all, the information that is coming out is good. People have been made aware of it. When you say keep your food away from rats, it's put it in a container where the rat cannot get into. But at the same time, also remember that the rats can also put their droppings at the back of the container. Therefore, you need good hygiene. Whenever you take anything that is kept, make sure you, as I said, wash your hand, clean around whatever the container you're using. Because, as I said, those droppings, even if they don't get into the food, they can get out of the food on the outside container. And that, again, could be another source of danger. So in everything we do, we need to take the issue of hygiene very, very seriously.
You know, one thing that featured in that report, which I think also popped up when we treated Ebola before we eventually succeeded, vaccines for it. This particular one, we understand there's no vaccine, as a matter of fact. What are we doing about this?
There are candidate vaccines which have not been tested in human beings. Experimental vaccines are available, 3 or 4 of them. And one of the things that we're looking for this year is that we want to evaluate some of the ones that are available and do what we call the first phase 1 trials in this country. I think that would be the way to go. I'm not too sure we can keep rodents out of our life. So the only way is to have something that can protect, just like with yellow fever. You can't keep the mosquitoes away. So the way to do is to protect everybody with a vaccine. So I think that's the direction for this country to go.
We've been told that yearly we have Lassa fever outbreaks, but it was saying that the one that we had within December and January, maybe even till February this year, defied all the medicines. What exactly has been happening with this one?
I think over the years we've neglected the Lassa fever problem. As you've said, it's happened every year. Usually starts about the beginning of the dry season and then it goes on. But I think what has happened this year in particular is that I must say that we have grown a little filthier than we used to be. Wow. And the filthiness is all over the country. And so long as you have, now the rodents we're talking about normally don't come to the houses. They're only looking for food. So if you keep your environment dirty, they will come in there. And the dirtier we are, the more we have them with us. If you see the disease is popping up virtually in every 20 states now, we're told. Before, we used to live in just about 4 or 5 states. But I think we got to that level where personal hygiene, our own environment, we neglected it for a long time. And I think we're paying the repercussion of that now.
So it's really, sorry, Mark, it's really painful to hear this sad but truthful talk from you about hygiene. Perhaps we should also be looking at the health sector holistically, an arm of it, which has to do with public health.
Exactly.
How much can they do in terms of bringing back that simple culture which Nigerians once had, hygienic culture?
You know, we used to say when we were growing up, everybody had a job. You clean your house, the entire village is clean. Everybody cleans the village, and you had all these sanitary inspectors who go around inspecting. Over the years, we abandoned those ones, and now we do monthly environmental, which means you keep your debt for 1 month, and when the governor has his celebration on that Saturday, you postpone it to the next month. So for the next 3 months, you may not clean your environment. And even when we collect all these refuse, where do they go? Sometimes they're lying there for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then when the rain season comes, you spread it back to where it came from. So I think the whole idea of having this environmental thing, that is his role. But we should be doing a daily duty of cleaning our environment. And until we begin to do that, I mean, Lassa, as I said, have been with us since 1969. Why are we getting this lab? I think since the environment was much better, much cleaner in those days than it is now.
Are we too busy for that? Because I remember then, when you read some literatures, and even in your homes, you know, you don't eat, you don't serve the food until your homes are clean, you sweep, you take out the dust and the dirt. How come that we just, I think, relaxed on all of that?
We became civilized. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Now you have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to work. There's no adult at home most of the time. Both parents are gone. In our own time, somebody was always at home. It's either the mother has an evening market when the father goes to the farm, and by the time the father comes back, the mother goes out. So there's always an adult at home who keeps eye on everything. We've abandoned all that. And that's what we're paying for. If we're going to go modern, then we should do what others are doing. Have good environmental system. I was telling somebody that sometimes you wake up very early in other parts of the world, as early as 3, 4 a.m. The vehicles that clean the streets have already done that. So by the time you come out at 7, the street is clean. So we have to adopt those things if we are going to go civilized, if we are going to become civilized as we are, do what they are doing to keep the environment on. We're still living, as I always say, and we want to go into the world of civilization without addressing those basic issues.
It is interesting that you put it down to dirt. So some people have talked about a new strain of Lassa fever. Is that true? So
far, we don't have any scientific evidence for that. What I think, from the way the cases are occurring and the way they're spreading, there's still for us a need for us to do some more detailed investigation. But I would believe there'll be some speculations that the mortality this year has been much higher than what it was before. Our laboratory system needs to improve to be able to see. There are different kinds of things that look, just like you said, when you see the signs and symptoms of Lassa, can look like any other thing, malaria, typhoid, yellow fever. So improving our own laboratory diagnosis is the first step to know exactly whether all of the cases we are seeing are they actually Lassa. We haven't gotten to that level. We don't have, we have not equipped our laboratory to that level to say, yes.
Are they all Lassa?
I think we must also put that into the consideration. Otherwise, we will be, the virus doesn't just suddenly, within a space of a year, change from 10% mortality to 60% mortality. There are other things to consider. And I think we need to look more into that. It will also be that following the Ebola, there's an awareness to report more cases. Like my colleagues at the ERO are saying that they have more people, there are more cases that are reported in the ERO area, Epoma side, because they have been aware of the disease. So anything that looks like fever, they send it to the lab. The percentage of those who are coming up with Lassa in that part of the country is much lower than what we're getting from other parts. So again, it could be that people are more aware in different parts. And the fact that we're noting them at different stages could be the level of awareness for surveillance for the disease.
So there's got to be commensurate investment to ensure that all those labs are also built up to keep checking.
One of the things that, actually, we had a meeting of the committee yesterday. One of the things we looked into, how do we get our labs to do better than they're doing? First of all, it's not just labs. The people in the field must detect the disease and send samples to the lab. One of the greatest problems we have is the issue of transportation of samples. In many parts of the country, the courier system will not want to take a Lassa sample from you. So we must have labs distributed in the country so that there's easy access to the labs without having to, getting a sample from Gombe to Irua may take you 2 weeks.
What do you do in that case? Educate the people or develop an alternate system to transport?
Well, first of all, that's the most important thing. Get your system for transportation much better. Take the polio eradication program. There are only 16 laboratories in the entire African region. But we had a system where no matter what part of the world, of course, we can get the samples to the labs wherever they are. And so also we can do the same thing here. Improve the transportation system. First thing is awareness. Take their proper sample. Keep it properly. And then, I'm surprised, we shouldn't have too much for it, just that people don't want to. With the transport system we have in this country, you can be in any part of this country within 12 hours. There's no reason why we cannot ship samples the same way. So those are the things we need to improve. But in addition to that, we're trying to make sure that there are more laboratories in different parts of the country so that it's easier, closer to people, and rather than having everybody send a sample to one place.
So while we were battling Lassa here in Nigeria, the WHO declared an epidemic of Zika. And then, you know, I think the question was put to the Minister of Health, and he said, oh, we have nothing to worry about. Zika has been with us since forever. What do you make of that statement? Should we really go to sleep over Zika?
No, not sleep, but we should be aware of what is happening.